What's up, guys, and hope your Sunday is going excellent. Okay, so let's talk more forensics, specifically blood forensics. Due to the recent MPD legal document drop, we are learning so much more about the forensic intel, both inside 1122 King and outside 1122 King. So let's circle back and now combine what we did know about the blood forensics and what we now know and ask ourselves, who are the three unknown male DNA? First up, we know that early on in the investigation, law enforcement was aware of three separate and distinct unknown male DNA profiles. Unknown male B is a blood spot found on an interior handrail of the stairwell leading from the first floor to the second floor. Unknown male D is blood found on a glove discovered in the front area of 1122 King shortly after the homicides. Unknown male C is literally a mystery. We know nothing about the location, nor do we know the specific type of DNA, blood, whether it's a print, etc. We only know that it is an unknown male DNA. For the purposes of this segment, we're really going to hone in on that unknown male B. In the recent legal drop from the MPD, some extremely explosive forensic intel came to light. We're not going to identify this individual, only say that he was one of the last known people to have seen two of the victims alive. We know this person lived 150 feet from 1122 King. We know that he went missing after the homicides for a period of at least 1 week. We also know that cops searched his apartment after the homicides and found a collection of blood both on the outside and inside of the apartment, including the shower. Also important to note, we know that it appeared that some surfaces had been cleaned, so it's possible there was more blood present before any cleaning efforts. Despite all of this forensic intel, we know that the cops had essentially cleared him just a week after the homicides. But the most critical piece of intel of all, allegedly it appears that cops never got a buccal swab from this individual, meaning they had no baseline DNA sample to do any testing. So now let's take everything we've talked about and switch gears for a minute and talk about forensic transfer. Some of this will be speculative, but stay with me. It's important we use this data from a cleared suspect, an unknown male DNA sample, and do a direct comparison to Mr. Brian Koberger, who has been convicted and is serving life sentences for this crime. It has been my opinion all along that during this brutal and savage attack of four humans by edged weapon, that the assailant likely would have gotten cut or injured along the way. If that is the case here, and also because we do not know the level of testing, if any, has been done, so according to my theory, if tested, I believe that blood found in his home and shower would reveal a mix of his blood and the victim's blood. If that mix is in his home and shower, then it was obviously transferred from inside 1122 King. What I have just described is logically the exact type of forensic transfer that one would expect to see in such a brutal attack as this. Why does this matter? Well, let's take this data and translate it over to Mr. Koberger and do a direct comparison. We know that there was no Brian blood found inside 1122 King. We also know that there was not one drop of victim blood found inside Brian's car. So what does all of this tell us? To me, this tells us that the forensic transfer data pursuant to this cleared individual is representative of someone who could have committed this crime. And further, the forensic transfer data pursuant to Mr. Koberger is representative of someone who did not commit this crime. So not done yet, guys. Let's take this one step further. Let's take everything that we have just talked about and go back inside 1122 King and talk about the blood forensics and what we know to date as still being unknown male DNA. In order to properly investigate this crime, we know, based on what we've discussed so far, there's an individual who was out there that potentially fit the criteria for potential involvement or complicity in this crime. But the seemingly inexplicable fatal error along the way in the investigation is, why did the cops never get a buccal swab from this individual? Without that critical baseline DNA sample, you have no ability to do any comparison testing with any unknown male blood mixed with victim blood inside that home. And interestingly enough, at the Franks hearing, Ms. Ann Taylor was examining a couple of the state's witnesses and inquired directly about unknown male DNA sample B. Quote, unknown male DNA B is a DNA mixture, isn't it? To which the state's DNA expert succinctly responded, quote, I don't know. And you already know I saved the best for last. Ms. Ann Taylor was examining none other than MPD Payne at the Franks hearing. Quote, why did you not pursue this person? Meaning unknown male DNA B. To which MPD Payne responded, and please remember, we are talking about an extremely compelling piece of forensic evidence, a DNA mixture of the perpetrator's blood with a victim's blood inside the crime scene. Quote, at the time, we already had Mr. Koberger's name, and so we'll stick with the tiny speck of skin cells from the sheath, and we can revisit it down the road if we need to. Now I ask you, everything that we have discussed herein, does this make any sense at all? And who is the real unknown male DNA B? Talk to me.